Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you on a Tuesday. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network. It is Tuesday, October 20th. The police chief of the city of Charlottesville has decided to call out the Black Lives Matter movement, and she has indicated the movement has been hijacked by imposters who were not true to the movement and its original roots. That story coming up for you on the I Love CVille Show. Why the police chief is getting political, I don't know. But she is. And we'll cover it today. City Hall and yesterday's city council meeting indicated they made a mistake by, of lack of a better phrase, extorting restaurants on the downtown mall while they were at their most vulnerable positions, a pandemic. And this extortion basically said, this shakedown basically said, you're going to pay us our cafe rents or we're going to take them away from you. Well, we made a stink about that on the I Love CVille Show, and we explained on the I Love CVille Show how the restaurants on the mall are maintaining the real estate values for Belmont, North Downtown, for the high-end condos between the mall and Beer Run, the C&O row houses, and for the high-end condos on Water Street and off of Market Street. You strip the restaurants of their cafes on the downtown mall, the real estate around the mall goes in the pooper. City Hall listened to us, and now the restaurants on the downtown mall have a break when it comes to their cafe rents, and guess what they get to do now? They get to expand their seating to parking spaces and to city-owned property around their restaurants. I wonder where that idea came from. That story coming up on the I Love CVille Show. The University of Virginia football team, back-to-back ranked opponents. We'll talk about that on the program. As the Wahoos try not to go 1-5, they're 1-3 now. Whether Armstrong, the starting quarterback, who's in the concussion protocol, can get back on the football field, only time will tell. We'll talk about that on the show. There's a bar on the UVA corner that is basically not following the mask rule at all. You can wait in line outside this bar without a mask on. You can go inside the bar without a mask on. You do not have to follow the limits for group gatherings in this UVA corner bar. And I'm sitting here scratching my head after all last week and a portion of the week before, how I was literally explaining how these restaurant owners are going above and beyond because their futures, their business, their livelihood, their families depend on these businesses staying open. And yet we have a bad apple in the barrel that's spoiling the entire bunch. That story for you on the I Love CVille Show. We'll talk Philadelphia and my buddy Brooks Tanner. Brooks Tanner. You may know him from BBQ Exchange fame. I know him as a guy that just likes to have a good time. This guy's now a chef in Philadelphia. Someone tell Brooks Tanner. I'm giving him some props on the show. This guy now is chef in Philadelphia. He said, look, this is what we're doing in Philly. This is what you need to be doing in Charlottesville. That story coming up for you on the I Love CVille Show. We have virtual learning opening in Travinia. A virtual learning center is going to go into a restaurant that's $27,000 a month? Welcome to COVID. That story. And we have Coca-Cola ending Northern Neck Ginger Ale. You heard me correctly. Coca-Cola terminating and ending Northern Neck Ginger Ale. Welcome to the program. Thank you kindly for joining us. You can share your perspective in the comment section, and that perspective will determine the pace and tempo of this show. Give it a like, give it a share. Susan Krischel is going to join us on this program at 12:55. So she's about 15 minutes away from being on set with us here on the program. We'll talk cafe relief here in a matter of moments. Parking spots, the police chief calling out the Black Lives Matter movement. Why our police chief is getting political, I have no idea. but we'll talk about that on the program today. I see 9 different states watching the program as we speak. Much of Northern Virginia, Richmond, Virginia Beach, and all of Central Virginia watching our show. The lead of the headline is something the lead of the show is something we've been emphasizing for a significant amount of time on the I Love CVille Network, and it's the value of cafes and restaurants on the mall. Well, yesterday, City Council, after we frankly called out them on numerous occasions on this network, literally sidestepped, backtracked, took we didn't know this was being released, or we didn't know this bill was being sent to the restaurant owners. And yesterday in the meeting, City Council, in fact, said, look, we're going to waive the fee for cafes on the mall for through March and April when the restaurants could not operate. Then we're going to give them a 50% reduction in cafe rents for the time being as these restaurants try to make it through COVID. Look at the screen. You got the headline on screen now. They also discussed, City Council yesterday, about allowing the restaurants to expand their seating to parking spaces around the mall. Interestingly, they are still charging these restaurants 50% rent to rent a parking space. That makes no sense to me. You have a Water Street and a Market Street parking garage that City Hall is currently offering at no charge over the weekend. You can park in the Market Street garage or the Water Street garage at no charge over the weekend. Yet City Hall is asking the restaurants to pay 50% rent if they want to expand their seating to parking spaces around the restaurants. I think that is the definition of stepping over dollars to pick up nickels. Why would you de-incentivize the restaurants from expanding their spaces to expanding their dining to parking spaces when you collect the tax on dining? Allow them every opportunity they can to seat people in a safe fashion, and then collect the tax on that seating. That's called being a good businessman. When you charge restaurants 50% rent space for a parking space, you're going to discourage them from expanding their seating from their dining rooms and their patios to asphalt parking lots, which they've never done before. Regardless, I'll give City Hall some props for doing this. They realize that if they charge the restaurants the cafe rent, that you legitimately could have an implosion of the downtown mall. And if you had an implosion of the downtown mall, that undoubtedly would affect the real estate around the mall, residential and commercial, and their values. City Hall realized, let's pick up dollars and not nickels. Let's not screw the restaurants from a cafe rent standpoint, and let's try to win this in the long game from a tax standpoint, and we do that by maintaining value of the real estate around these 8 blocks. They still are asking the restaurants to pay rent on the parking spaces to set up tables outside. 50% instead of 100%. I'll give it to them there. 50% instead of 100%. Regardless, I'm not sure why you're doing that. I think you will now see the mall as we head into the winter months have much more outside seating. I'm going to emphasize this yet again. If you really want to help the mall, City Hall and City Council, what you do is you consider this beer garden concept where a kiosk is put at the center of the mall. You can charge $5 per wrist bracelet. City Hall gets all that money for the wrist bracelet. A $15 an hour employee will give the person a cup and a bracelet, and then you can go from restaurant to restaurant, filling up your cup with booze and getting a to-go nosh for your hand, and then you can walk from the Omni to the Pavilion on the mall with your drink and food in hand. That's how you save the mall. Regardless, I'll tip my cap to City Hall and to City Council for doing away with the cafe rents for now and offering some relief. And I will somewhat tip my hat to City Hall and to City Council for finally coming to the conclusion that parking spaces around downtown Charlottesville could make for good outside seating in this COVID-19 landscape. Our next topic comes from the police department. And I'm going to play you audio from an interview NBC 29 did. Judah, make sure this mic is on, if you could see it. Give me a thumbs up. This one right here if it's on. This is going to be audio from the police chief who is calling out the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm going to play the audio first and then offer you my perspective on this sound. Judah, I'm going to play that now.
Have stood back and stand by in a way that allows space and room for discourse, for anger, for outrage to be heard.
Brackney criticized the Black Lives Matter movement in Charlottesville and across the nation for lacking diversity.
Here and across the nation, the majority of the Black Lives Matter movements have been co-opted by persons who do not reflect the Black Lives Matter original movement and concept as well. It's the majority of the rallies, demonstrations, and marches here are primarily majority people. And they don't look very diverse in their marches or their rallies.
The first black woman to serve.
Okay, so you got that. You can turn this sound off for me. That's from NBC 29. NBC 29 right there. I encourage you very much to follow that story here. When she says the majority of the people in the Black Lives Matter movement are now majority people, that means they're white. That's what that means. They're white. Okay, and I'm going to emphasize this. I think we have a number of people in our municipality that may or may not understand what their roles are within the municipality. We have a mayor who, instead of leading and galvanizing, is choosing an activist approach to leadership. We have a police chief who is politicizing, who is offering political commentary on the Black Lives Matter movement as opposed to enforcing the law and maintaining safety. The same police chief, who I think has done a hell of a job, she's certainly been thrown into a wildfire that is Charlottesville post August 12, 2017. The police chief also caught some flack when she appeared in a political rally for Joe Biden. Joe Biden, his VP nominee, vice presidential nominee Harris, her husband was in Charlottesville, and he was doing a rally. While doing this rally, Bryant Webb, Dr. Webb, who's running for the 5th District, he was there. And they're taking photos with the police chief at this rally while she's in uniform and on the clock. So I guess I'm going to emphasize this now with 9 states watching the I Love CVille show. I'm going to emphasize this. Is our role for the police chief to politicize the Black Lives Matter movement and call the Black Lives Matter movement out for being too white? Is that the role? Is the role for the mayor of Charlottesville to say to the New York Times that the city is an ugly to the soul kind of place? I think we have leadership, and I don't imagine the challenges. I can't even imagine the challenges some of these folks are going through, but I think some of our leadership is trying to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. I don't understand the strategy behind calling out the Black Lives Matter movement in Charlottesville if you're the police chief. That makes no PR common sense to me or optics sense to me. Give me your take, and I see the comments coming in here. We'll get your opinions on the show in a matter of moments. The next story comes from the UVA Corner. Get the NBC 29 story on screen. I very much encourage you to see what's happening in this particular story. There's a bar on the UVA Corner called Trinity Irish Pub. And Trinity Irish Pub was caught on camera by a UVA student using this, going around Trinity Irish Pub on multiple days, filming what Trinity was doing. And Trinity literally had a lot of people inside their Irish bar on the UVA Corner, not social distancing. No one had masks on. People were drinking, boozing, hanging out, and just going about it like it was a normal day. The reason I bring this to your attention is because of this. We have 99.9% of the restaurants in Charlottesville and in Central Virginia busting their tail for safety because their livelihood, their family, their mortgage payment, and how they pay their employees is tied to opening and keeping their restaurants open. When somebody like Trinity just absolutely snubs their nose at the rules that Jim Ryan and the city of Charlottesville have put in place, that not only is going to backfire on them, it's going to potentially backfire on restaurants as an association. We already know the mayor, through perspective she shared on her Facebook page, is not a fan of indoor dining. We know this. Why would we risk or challenge? Why would we risk or challenge indoor dining as we head into the winter months? And Trinity not following the rules is doing just that. They're doing just that. And the reason I bring this up to everybody is because 99.9% of the people are following the rules, but it takes one bad apple to spoil the entire barrel. Our next headline comes from Stonefield, one of the most embattled shopping centers in Central Virginia is this private equity-owned shopping center called Stonefield. The rents are so astronomically high that the private equity firm that owns the shopping center can only attract big box brands or regional and national chains with the cash burn rate to sustain the businesses during a pandemic when rents are astronomical. To truly put this in perspective, and let's get the headline on screen, please, Judah, Travinia, that has a rent of $27,000 per month when the Italian restaurant Travinia was operating in the space. This particular location has now pivoted to a virtual learning environment. You heard me correctly. Virtual learning is happening in a $27,000 per month Class A restaurant that's adjacent to a movie theater in arguably, on paper, the nicest shopping center in the area. On paper. The most productive from a return on investment standpoint is probably Barracks Road. But Stonefield, you got a movie theater, you got nice walking areas, you got lights, you got parking. They built it out and did it nice. This particular location, however, is now rented by Direct Learning Solutions. And Direct Learning Solutions is going to say no to cocktails, no to wine and cheese, no to pasta, no to spaghetti, no to those delicious breadsticks, and yes to algebra, yes to geometry, yes to social studies, yes to geography, and yes to ABCs. We'll follow that very closely as Stonefield looks to fill a number of vacancies in a Class A shopping center. The next headline comes from our wonderful friends at Animal Connection. You know I love Patty Zeller at this network. Patty Zeller took her business from McIntyre, where she was located behind CVille Coffee, and she, during a pandemic, at a time where much of brick and mortar retail was crumbling and dying and crashing, she said, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to go from McIntyre to Ix. I'm going to add an additional 1,200 square feet to my retail footprint, and I'm going to do it during a time that no one has any preparation for. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I'm going to pivot my model to more experiential retail, the type of stuff you can only get in person and not online. She's had tremendous success with doing that, guys. She has a business association with Heather Travis and Lead the Way Canine Training. She has a fantastic partnership with 3 Notch. She's a champion of Ix Art Park. And now she is rolling out a new element to her business. Think Birchbox. Think monthly membership. Think those boxes you get in the mail that have samples and cool stuff that allow you to try other new things. The first round are called Boo Boxes. They're for Halloween. The Boo Boxes have a value of $75, and they're on sale for $29.99. I expect many more boxes like this from the dog scout, Patty Zeller herself. She is doing amazing things with retail. If you want to figure out how to survive and you're doing a retail model, look at what Animal Connection is doing. Boo Boxes. I love them. And I have one. Where is my Boo Box, Judah? Is my Boo Box over there?
Yeah, it's over there somewhere.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next headline comes from Philadelphia. And Brooks Tanner, who was a chef and the Charlottesville scene, moved to Philadelphia with his wife, wonderful son. He sent me this Instagram video. Can you put that on screen? Let me know when the Instagram video is on there. And I can give you a 3, 2, 1 count if you have it ready to go. Do you have it ready to go? Okay. Look at what's happening in Philadelphia. We're going to play this for you. We are respectfully asking Charlottesville and its leadership to look at what Philadelphia is doing from a restaurant standpoint, with diners eating in parking lots, with common area being converted to entertainment, but still done in a social distance fashion, with bands, singers, and entertainers on the roofs or the second floor above businesses, with the windows open and people enjoying the good music and the noise and the sound that comes from these entertainers. Judah, ready for this? Let's play Philadelphia. Thank you, Brooks Tanner, for sending this to me. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you saw someone singing up there. You saw literally them taking the seating from inside the restaurant and putting it in the common area of the walkway, which would essentially mean the downtown mall. And you saw the entertainers on the second floor above the restaurants with the windows open. Philadelphia is doing it right. You know what Brooks said to me? He said the restaurants in Philly, a lot of the ones that he knows, are doing revenue that exceeded what they were doing last year before COVID. Because the communities are finding this novel, different, and creative. And on top of that, they want to support their favorite brands. So if you do a little innovation, you think a little creativity, and you do some stuff outside the box, this is what could happen. And this is what would happen in Charlottesville if we gave it a shot. Judah, let's go to the studio camera, and let's welcome Susan to the set. We'll get you on studio camera. Susan, we have you this right here. I'm going to slide over here. Anybody who's watching this program, we are almost 9 feet apart. Susan is a phenomenal person, well-connected person. First, good afternoon.
Hello.
How are you?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. We'll get this a little closer to you.
Sure.
Oh, that's perfect. So how about an introduction to you, Susan? First.
Sure. I'm Susan Krischel, and I am the executive director of the Art Park Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that brings arts of all forms to the community.
I love it. And you guys are making big-time moves. I first want to emphasize what's happening on Saturday.
Yeah, the farmers market.
The farmers market. Oh my gosh. It is, we've gone, it is amazing.
Thank
you.
you.
Is awesome. You know, we've been champions of having the farmers market at Ix for a long time. You have grass, you have shade, you have bathrooms, you have other merchants close by, you have more space, you allow animals.
We have free art classes.
You have free art classes. I mean, it was a no freaking brainer. It only took a pandemic for this to start happening. Can you give us some perspective what's happening with the farmers market?
Well, I mean, I think the future is still to be determined, because the reason we were able to bring it down to the Ix Art Park was because the city chose not to do it on the parking lot across from the downtown mall this year, and they chose to do a drive-through market only. And so we had a lot of farmers and a lot of the public who came to us and said, you know, this is our livelihood. We need to try to do our best, because we planted all these fruits and we planted all these vegetables having no idea that a pandemic was going to hit, and it would be devastating to our business if we don't have the platform to sell it. So after studying all of the rules about essential goods and figuring out a way that we could space the vendors in a socially distanced manner and requiring people to wear masks and having certain cleaning procedures, we determined and were approved by the governor to hold an in-person farmers market. And it's been terrific. Both the vendors and the public who come down there have told us how much they value that little piece of normalcy that we're bringing to the city.
That's exactly what my wife said. She said for this 90 minutes that we were at Ix and just having a good time with our kid, I forgot about COVID. And I was able to enjoy a morning in Charlottesville. Now, we still had our mask on. We were safe. We still did it the right way because you guys are insisting that people do it the right way.
Yes.
But having this glimmer is the escape that some of us need during this very anxious time.
That is true. That is true. And you know, Ludwig Kuttner, who owns the Park, has always wanted to have the farmers market down there. And what the future holds, I think, is a big question. In our opinion, this is a great time for public and private organizations to partner together to make something successful. So we are open to the idea of keeping it down at the Ixart Park. We'll have to see where the city stands on this as well.
Timothy Christoph is watching in North Downtown. My family goes to the city market at Ix all the time. They are doing it the right way, the safe way. My wife was nervous about coming the first time. After being there 10 minutes, we realized it was a safe place for all of us. This is the future of the city market. It should be at Ix. And there are other comments coming
Thank
here.
you, Timothy.
Before I get to the other comments here, talk to us about the governor's approval. Was that difficult to get approval for?
No, it wasn't difficult because food is considered an essential good. How things changed, though, is a lot of your arts and crafts vendors, at least at the beginning of the pandemic, we could not invite them down there because they were non-essential goods. So it started out actually kind of being a true farmer's market. And it's still, we have a couple of craft-type vendors down there now, but we keep it very few. It's mostly food-oriented. But to help the artisans and the craftspeople, we then designed the night market, which is on Thursday evenings, and that focuses more on food trucks, so people can come down and eat, not just food trucks, but also food vendors that can come down. They're spread out, and you can eat there. And then there are craft vendors spread throughout. And then we also have Soiree, which is a dance class and open dance opportunity. Of course, you have to come down with a partner that is from your household, and we social distance everyone by placing them on these flowers that we painted on the ground, which are all distanced 10 feet apart. And so we have some dancing and some food and some crafts. You
guys have been cutting edge almost from the beginning of the pandemic. You had the virtual telethon that Brian hosted, where you had a number of artists in a virtual setting like this. You were hosting concerts. And if you notice, Devil's Backbone and Bold Rock kind of frankly took your idea here. And your concert was, and correct me if I'm wrong, painted circles?
Yes.
And these painted circles were done in front of the Ix stage,
yes.
And you're able to rent varying sizes of painted circles. So you could have a smaller painted circle if it was just you and your honey.
Right.
And if it was you and your family, you would get a bigger painted circle. And as long as you stayed in that painted circle, you could have a good time listening to music and dancing. Is that the gist?
Well, it is the gist. There are 2-person, 4-person, and 6-person circles. Unfortunately, because the city of Charlottesville has taken a much harder stance than some other areas, we are still limited to 50 people, which is, difficult for us to sustain ourselves on a 50-person event when we have so much outdoor space. It would be easy for us to allow more people in and still socially distance and still be safe, but that isn't what the rules allow right now.
Your friends at Three Notch watching, your friends at Brazos and Animal Connection are all watching the show as we speak. You are a connected lady. You're an attorney by trade. Is that safe to say?
Yes, I was a criminal prosecutor in New York City for almost 20 years.
So she knows how to play the game, guys. She really knows how to play the game. Why are we in this position? And I'm a libertarian. I'm pro-business. Why are we in this position, do you think, of having stricter restrictions within this city?
I think it's fear.
Yeah?
I think it has a lot to do with fear and people not having ever experienced this kind of situation. They're not sure how to maneuver within it. And so one of the challenges that we have, having to, I want to keep my people employed and I want to keep activity going on, it's a balance, and you have to really think hard about how you're going to bring some normalcy to the world and still maintain that sense of security and safety so people feel like it's okay to have a little bit of normalcy.
Do you think we're maintaining the balance the right way?
I think we could do better. I think we've seen other cities. You just talked about Philadelphia, which is thinking outside of the box to come up with new ways of doing things. We're seeing certain restaurants that have had the ability to expand because they had access to larger outdoor space where they could create a bigger area. Down at Saki, for example, they have taken some of the space that was normally our event space, and they've spread out their outdoor dining because we can't use it when we only have 50-person spaces. So we collaborated with them and worked with them to give them more opportunity. But some restaurants don't have that option. Now, on the downtown mall, I think there is an opportunity to do it, but it requires some creative thinking, and it requires the city to maybe step outside of what they consider normal and allow, we have a large mall, allow people to expand their outdoor spaces on the mall. It could be done. I know the fire department was concerned about it because they want to be sure that there's safety and that they can get up and down the mall if needed. But I think we're smart people. We could be creative and figure it out.
We have common sense.
We do.
We can do this. What would you do with the mall? And you guys have a ton of skin in the game at the mall.
We do. We own Central Place.
Yeah.
The tents are important, although the cost of tents now are skyrocketing and they're hard to find, and so that's putting pressure on the restaurants as well. But certainly, the cost of buying heaters. There are some real costs involved in thinking outside of the box, and some of these restaurants maybe don't have the financial capacity to make those changes, particularly when this passes. The question becomes, is this the new normal, or do we go back to what we were before? And so how much investment can we make in our infrastructure, and how do we use that going forward? And so that's a question that each restaurant is going to have to answer for themselves.
Kimberly Kraling is watching 5th Street Extended. She said, Jerry, I've seen your guest in action. She is quite impressive. Oh. This is who the Restaurant Association should have speaking on their behalf in front of council. What are your thoughts on that topic right there?
Thank you. That's very sweet of her to say.
You are impressive. Ix is becoming, very quickly has become, if anything, the pandemic has accelerated this, even more of a hot spot to be in the city of Charlottesville. And you guys do a phenomenal job. You have phenomenal tenants. 3 Notch is one of my favorite places to go. I love what Brian's doing over there. I love what you're doing over there. I love the art piece over there. What are the short goals and long-term goals for what you want to do with Ix?
I think, it goes back to a vision that Ludwig Kuttner has had for many, many years, and that is to create a place where you can live, work, and play, where the community can get together irrespective of where you come from, what your background is, what your ethnicity is. It's a place where everyone should feel safe and everyone should feel comfortable. And so we welcome the business community, but we also welcome the community that comes down there to just, enjoy art and enjoy, interacting with other people. And so his vision, I think, has always been to create that kind of a community. And that supports our businesses as well.
Kelly Cavino's got a good question for you. We miss Brazos dearly. Does your guest know when Brazos may open again?
Well, they are open. They just have limited hours.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
They're open. And of course, Lampo is going to be opening soon. We're very excited about that. They're right next to Brazos. Theirs is going to be a takeout place. And then, of course, we still have North American Sake, which I love their food. And 3 Notch, which, knocks it out of the box every time.
Bruno Moon, Vanessa Parkhill, welcome to the show. 10 states watching the broadcast as we speak. What would you do differently, do you think, if you were in a position of leadership in this city?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Because you're a pro-business person.
I have to think about that. I mean, look, I certainly think that now is the time that we have to create more partnerships where, the businesses and the city and the nonprofit organizations in town have to come together and have to work together so that we create a more holistic view of what this city should be. I also think it's really important to have a clear vision of who we want to be, and I think that's one of the things that we've lacked as a city is who is it that we're really trying to be, and then have a plan for getting there.
Who are we trying to be?
I don't know. I think that's a big question, and I'm going to leave that one to to the city council to figure that out. They really need to work on figuring that out because I think they're oftentimes too polarized.
Totally agree.
So we need to really listen to the entire community because everyone is a part of this community. And certainly we have many disadvantaged members of our community that we need to pay attention to and we need to support and hold up. But we also have a lot of the people from the business side who are there to help bring the money in that will support that community. So we need to understand from a fiscal standpoint how to do that. I was sorry, frankly, to see the city manager go because I thought that he had a real vision on how to create that, but there's a lot of difficult steps that need to be taken to get to that point, and I think people were uncomfortable with that.
What did you make of that breakup?
It was sad to me. It was sad because I think he had a lot of potential. It was a surprise. I wish that he'd come back, to be honest with you, because I think that if we work together with him, I think we could create something a little more focused. So.
I totally agree, 100% agree. Public-private partnerships, joint ventures, JVs, something that we've been emphasizing for years, something that, frankly speaking, has not been made a priority. Give us some insight on how a good public-private partnership could work, especially during a time like this. I mean, frankly speaking, the municipality is significantly behind from a budget deficit standpoint. I am a businessman. I say it all the time. I am a husband, a father, and a businessman. In that order. Sometimes it changes. And my wife holds me to it. I fear, and I'm going to throw this to you, you're a lot smarter than I am. I fear, and you know I own real estate, I fear that they're going to try to make up this deficit with taxes on real estate.
They could.
What are you anticipating?
Well, they've been raising the taxes for some time, and,
right.
And it's a little bit of a misnomer because they aren't raising the taxes more than they're raising the value of the properties there. That
Assessed
are essentially,
value.
Right. They're essentially raising the taxes without claiming that they're raising
That's
the
right.
taxes. So, yeah.
That's right. Keep going.
Well, I just say, I mean, for example, as you all, I think a lot of people know, a couple of years ago, they raised the taxes at IX 400% in 1 year.
Right, ridiculous.
Which came as a complete shock, and then they've continued to raise it over the years. And I think some of it happened because they had a couple of properties in town that sold for probably more than they should have sold, and somehow they made that seem like that's the new normal. And I think it's made it very difficult on property owners who really do want to work with their tenants to make the business work, because if the tenants don't succeed, the landlords don't succeed.
Right.
So it is a partnership, but we have that thing harboring over us, which is where is the city in view of how they want to support business.
Right. Okay, so I like this conversation here. So what do you think, what are we going to do to make up this deficit? How do you see it happening? What I'm hoping and what I'm pushing here is incremental revenue, incremental taxable revenue, new ways of revenue. I mean, we've talked about how these casinos are going to become much more relevant next year across the Commonwealth. We've talked about how the state delegates are already talking. We're probably going to have dispensaries coming down the road next year or the year after in the Commonwealth. Those are new taxable revenue streams for the state, for the Commonwealth. How about here in Charlottesville? New ways that we can drive revenue that you guys have been brainstorming.
You know, there are so many ways that we can collaborate together to raise funds to do something that can support the city as a whole. I mean, we're an arts organization. And just as an example, we're talking with the Visitors Bureau and the City of Charlottesville and some local nonprofit organizations who contribute to the arts, as well as a couple of businesses in town, to collaborate on a campaign, for example, to draw tourism to Charlottesville so that they can immerse themselves in everything that we have to offer. And that's an example of, right now, it's a collaboration that we're working on between the arts organizations on the downtown mall, Monticello, the Paramount, Live Arts, the Ix Art Park, the Charlottesville Mural Project, and we're trying to come up with a program collaboratively And the Quirk Hotel has been one of our supporters on it. The Virginia Visitors Bureau has been a supporter on it. We're trying to design this campaign, and hopefully we can bring enough funds together collectively to actually draw tourism to the city. And that, of course, is a big revenue generator for the city. So that's an example of a collaboration that could happen.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. This question's coming in on the feed. How do you guys prioritize the art element of IX? It seems like you are really prioritizing it, which makes our family very happy. That's from Laura Carini.
Thank you, Laura, for saying that, because we believe very strongly in the power of art to heal people. It's also a universal communicator, and it doesn't matter what your background is, what your race is, what your ethnicity is. Art is its own communicator, and everyone can participate in it. And so our whole mission at the IX Art Park is to spark creativity and inspiration in people's everyday lives. I hope I'm going to get a chance to talk about Halloween. Can I talk about Halloween?
Yeah.
Only because we had a whole bunch of people that came to us and said, please do something for Halloween. We had adults that were coming saying, we really don't want to be ourselves for the day.
Halloween, please.
They were like, can we be somebody else for the day? Can you help us be somebody else?
Are you guys doing something for Halloween?
Oh my gosh, we're doing so much. And kids need an outlet.
Yeah.
And so we have an entire week of Halloween planned.
Awesome.
And it's going to be art classes. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. You can go to our website on Monday and Tuesday from 3 to 5. We're going to be painting pumpkins, and we encourage kids to show up, you know, it's all ages, but we encourage them to show up in costume. Then in the evening from 7 to 8, we're going to do booze, like ghost booze and booze.
Nice. Booze and
for the adults, booze and booze. That's for the adults. Where we're just going to come in costume. Let's make some art. Let's be fun. We'll do it in a socially distanced way. On Wednesday, we're doing Clay of the Dead from 3 to 5 p.m. for 8 years and older. We're going to be creating zombies in a socially distanced manner through sculpture. On Thursday, we're going to do Fright Market, which is our night market with a little bit of Halloween injected into it through our free art program, which is going to be held during the market.
Nice.
On Friday, we have Mummy and Me, not Mommy, but Mummy and Me, because we don't want to distinguish between Mommy and Daddy. So Mummy and Me is a parent duo from 10 to 12, where the little ones can come in costume and join us in the outside art room for pumpkin painting and spooky sculpting. And then we have Halloween that night, which is our drag show. That's for adults. Adults only drag queen show for Halloween. And then Saturday at the farmers market, we're doing all kinds of things. We've partnered with Animal Connection, and we're going to be doing a dog parade and costume contest. We're going to do a kids costume contest. And because people are discouraging regular trick-or-treating this year, we're going to have trick-or-treating at the farmers market, but instead of just being allowed to go wherever, we're going to have sort of stations set up where kids can come and do their trick-or-treating in a more socially distanced manner. We're going to have the Halloween art room open for kids. That's also going to be free. We're going to have kids Halloween yoga later in the day from, I think that one is from at 1 p.m. You can come and do yoga in costume with your kid. We have a concert that night, but it's already sold out. So, and then Sunday we have Dia de la Muertes, which is a tribute to the Day of the Dead. Mm-hmm. And we'll have some creative honoring of the dead with free hands-on art making. And so it's a whole week of stuff, and I really want people to come down and participate in it.
You guys, I'm gonna be your PR person here for a while here, and I can follow you around every single day if you need me to. This literally is, I sincerely mean this. You guys are doing the common sense, cool stuff that the city needs to help pull itself through this 2020 year we all want to forget.
Thank you.
We're trying. I mean, you are. You're like, people still need the farmers market. We need to stand up for the farmers. They need an outlet to sell their produce, their protein, their veggies, etc. The one is a drive-by farmers market that no one's going to go to. Okay, that's the city one. I mean, that's just cut to the chase. That's what's happening. Okay, I'm straightforward.
Okay, yes you are.
The downtown mall, one of the most favorite things for me in the downtown mall was when the animals got dressed up and walked up and down the mall with the kids and their parents. I'm a young dad. I love doing that. I would put a little beer in my Yeti cup and walk up and down the mall with my kid and my wife. That's not happening.
Yeah.
It's going to happen at your spot.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're constantly stepping up and filling in a void Do you feel that's what you're doing?
That's what we're trying to do.
You're doing a hell of a job.
Well, thank you, but I'm going to put a little advertisement in here because we are a nonprofit organization, and it is tough. It is really tough to stay alive during this period of time. It's hard to make money when you can only have 50 people come to an event space that you can hold 3,000 people in. So I do encourage people, if they can afford it, to please give generously to the Art Park so that we can continue to bring these types of programs to you.
I love it. I love it. Anything else that we're missing that needs to be out there? Show's yours.
You know what? I'm just so thrilled to see people every Saturday. It warms my heart when I see people come down and interacting and doing it safely.
Right.
You know,
Can
they're
you put
all
that
wearing
in perspective
masks.
for us?
They're all wearing masks.
Yeah.
We keep all of the vendors' booths 10 feet away from each other.
We're outside.
We're outside.
Yeah.
We ask people to keep 6 feet difference when they're standing in line. Now, it's going to get tougher because the winter months are coming up, and it's going to be harder to stay warm during this period. We're going to try and keep the farmers market going, but you're just going to have to come down really bundled up if it gets cold. And, you know, we'll probably have to suspend some events for November, December, January, February, but come March, we're going to have a whole load of good programming lined up, and hopefully we can
keep it going.
Soldier on. Just soldier on.
Vanessa Parkhill, great Halloween plans for Ix. We will be there. Something for everyone. Thank you so much for this. I feel the same way. I'm sure my wife right now is writing down everything you just said.
It's on our website.
Is it on the Facebook?
It's on Facebook. It's on our website,
Okay.
www.ixartpark.org, or our Facebook page, and you'll see the whole calendar.
All the calendar. You guys are going to get flooded, I have a feeling, after
hope
this.
so.
All right, last question I'm going to have for you, kind of a macro question, open-ended question, anywhere you want to go. What is going to happen, do you think, or how do we prepare, or what do we do for Game of Thrones, Winter is Coming to Charlottesville?
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay. Anywhere you want to go on that topic?
You know, I think we're just going to have to put our Eskimo hat on and bundle up and come out and support the restaurants and come out and support the businesses and the arts organizations. Yeah, it might be a little cold, but I think it's something that's important for the health of our city. And actually for our own health too, because you can't
Getting
just
outside.
hide inside forever.
Right.
I mean, it's you hear a lot of people that are depressed and anxious, and of course there's many people that are fearing losing their jobs.
Right.
And so the support that we who can afford to do so can give to the local businesses will keep people employed, it will keep income coming into the city, it will keep these businesses alive, and all of that is important to the future of our city.
I love everything about what you just said, so I have to ask you a follow-up question here, because you're amazing when it comes to the spoken word. Do we feel sometimes, and you're getting a ton of messages here, do you feel sometimes that being a business person in some ways is almost frowned upon? You know, by leadership? And why I'm saying this is because I've been doing this for 12 years. I've taken one vacation in 12 years. Literally.
Whoa.
I'm busting
We gotta get you out,
busting
my
my
friend.
ass working 70 hours a week. You know I do.
What does your wife think about that?
She is not crazy about it. She at least was there on the vacation. We came back knocked up, though. So that opened up another job. It was our honeymoon. This is what I'm going to throw to you. I feel like the Ludwigs of the world, the Scott Roths of the world, the Patty Zellers of the world, I feel like the Joan Fettons of the world, and myself, business owners. These are folks that are generating taxable revenue for the municipality that is then being allocated to roads and EMTs and cops and firefighters and schools. But oftentimes we're like snubbed.
Yeah, it's a
We're
little...
like scarlet lettered.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. And I was really saddened at the last city council meeting to hear one of the councilors say, well, if you go out of business, just open another one some other time. It's not so simple as that. You know, business people have the lives of their employees at stake. They have the lives of their family at stake. They have the success and health of your city. And, you know, as we see needs for social programs here, we have to be able to pay for those social programs. They don't just, you know, you can't just pull money off of trees. You have to generate the income in order to be able to give back to those people who need it so much. If I couldn't raise money for the Ix Art Park and I couldn't charge for some of our programming, I couldn't give you free art classes in return. So it's a give and a take, and we have to support these businesses in order to be sure that we can be there for the rest of the world. I think what's unfortunate is people have seen income distributions across the nation and across the world, becoming so far apart. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. It's going to create a collaboration of all of these people in the middle to come back and take control of our country and our world and help each other and become less me-oriented and more we-oriented. And that we stands for everybody.
Susan, that was amazing. That was poignant right there. All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this. This is coming from Louise Muck. My family of 6 is going to be there for the Halloween festivities. Do we need to buy tickets in advance?
Some of them have tickets. Some of them are just free, and you just show up. So, and of course, we can only do as much as we can socially distance everyone.
I know. I think you're going to blow up right now, Susan.
We hope everybody comes. We really do. But we will do our best to expand in a safe and socially distanced manner. Bring your masks.
For everyone that's watching, Ix Art Park on Facebook.
Yes,
I think
please.
that's what Ix Art Park on Facebook is. The nitty gritty. Go there. Bring your mask. Let's flood this. How many acres is it?
Well, 17 acres is the whole Ix Art Park.
How about the grass area?
I've never really measured it, but I would say it's probably 15 or 20,000.
It's huge.
It's big.
It's huge.
Big.
Let's flood this area, guys. Let's flood this area. You're awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming and joining us.
Thank you for supporting
we
the
appreciate
community.
you. J-Dubs, if we want to let Susan out there, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Susan, you're awesome. We'll go to the studio camera, Judah. Right. I will get to comments now coming in. This one from Bob Sweeney. Jerry, thank you for having that guest in the studio. I did not know about this. We will be there with our family for these Halloween festivities. Halloween in our neighborhood was canceled, so the kids are looking for something to do. More comments coming in. This one's from Carol Thorpe. Carol Thorpe says this. Thank you, Carol Thorpe. Jerry, when Chief Brackney attended last week's partisan political rally on duty while in uniform, she did it in direct violation of her own hand sign policy forbidding the same for her officers. If any of them did what she did, they would be open to disciplinary action. The chief was guilty of hypocritical leadership on top of bad optics. She should engage in politics on her own time. You know what, Carol, I'm going to give you a heart response for that. I agree with that. I do not think, I'm going to say this again, I do not think paid city employees in uniform on city clock time should be at political rallies, regardless if you're a Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian. Why are paid city employees in uniform on city time, on the clock, going to political rallies and taking selfies with political candidates? Why, in uniform, on the record while talking to the media, why is the police chief politicizing the Black Lives Matter movement? That's what she did. NBC 29, look at it. That's what she did. These are fair questions of why we're asking here on the show. We got more comments coming in on the program today. Kelly Jackson, if our business and many others close, we won't be able to raise money and donate to places like UVA's Children's Hospital, and everyone loses. Well said, Kelly Jackson. Very well said. We certainly appreciate that. All right, guys. A couple things we need to get out of the notebook before we get out of here. I got a conference call in 2 minutes. Football games. First, very quickly, AMC Movie Theaters has said, look, we very well could go bankrupt. Watch this closely. AMC Movie Theaters has straight up said, we very well could go bankrupt. We are running low on cash. The theater chain agreed to sell as many as 15 million shares of stock. They're selling stock in a company that they say literally could go bankrupt. Think about that. AMC Movies literally on record today saying they could go bankrupt. Coca-Cola purchased Northern Neck Ginger Ale. I love Northern Neck Ginger Ale. It's my favorite ginger ale. And Coca-Cola has announced they are retiring Northern Neck Ginger Ale at the end of the year due to the coronavirus pandemic. My favorite ginger ale purchased by Coca-Cola now being retired. UVA is at Miami on Saturday, 8 o'clock kick. Miami, the 11th ranked team in the nation. The Hurricanes, an 11.5-point favorite, 8 p.m. ACC Network. Virginia Tech is at Wake Forest. Virginia Tech, number 19 in the country. Hokies, 9.5-point favorite. Va Tech at Wake Forest, 3:30 kick, ESPN 3. Put the I Love CVille Instagram on screen. I Love CVille Instagram. Follow it now. If you care about news, food, your community, and anything that's good that's happening to Charlottesville and Central Virginia, you should follow the I Love CVille Instagram now. I Love CVille Instagram. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Give Dr. Wagner some love. Changing people's lives through chiropractic care, sports medicine, and physical therapy. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner's got your back. Folks, this entire show is done in 5 minutes or less. It's called the I Love CVille Daily Digest presented by Ting Fiber Internet. 5 o'clock, 5 days a week, 5 minutes or less. The I Love CVille Daily Digest. Don't miss it. Susan, you were amazing. For those that we didn't get to your comments, I apologize. I have a 1:30 conference call that I'm now 20 seconds behind on a TV commercial that will soon air in Charlottesville and Central Virginia that I'm very proud of, that I personally directed. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us.